Welcome to the Floored-U-Cation Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona. We're here to talk with contractors from all across the country about issues that matter to you. This week's guest is Liz Calandrino. Liz has many years of experience in the flooring industry, from running 7 carpet and furniture liquidation stores to being an inspector and consultant. We spend our time talking about customer service, finding a niche, and why having partners and not employees or subs is so important. Liz Calandrino, do I have you on the line?
Yes, you do, Kyle.
Welcome to the Floored-U-Cation Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You have been involved in this industry for a very long time and I am just a baby, and I am so lucky to have you on the show and that you're willing to share your experience and knowledge with us.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself so people can hear a little bit about your background, how you got started in the flooring world and what you've done with it.
Well, I grew up with my father, who was in the construction business, and when I was little, I didn't go to school. I missed the date for kindergarten. And so my mother said, maybe you want to take her out with you during the day. And I had a lot of energy. So my dad would take me out on his sites. He'd be out there sitting on a concrete slab, and he'd be drawing a picture of a house. And, he would draw out, he was an architect, but, he was really good at this stuff. So, he would be out there drawing a picture of a house, and, my uncles all worked for him. And so I really learned about subcontractors and what it took to take care of them and to have good ones work for you. My father stressed customer service was most important, and he was way ahead of his time because now the customer service is really, it's kind of dead, because customer service basically was you broke it, you fixed it. Mm-hmm. Now that's done. If you can't fix it, you can't be in any of these games. But now it's more a customer experience, which is making the customer love you to death. Well, my father was into that years ago. The whole house was filled with people on Sunday afternoons. They were all customers having dinner at 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. They came over for drinks. And my father did this for like 40 years. And he said to me, my mother said one day, once Tony's customer, always Tony's customer. And I remember when I wrote my first book on customer service, that was what I put in there. I dedicated it to my dad because he just got it. And, he would say things to me like, oh, we're going to go in Mrs. Wank's house. Now, we have to be careful. Don't break anything, because, what do we do if we break it? And I knew that was a question. And I'd say, well, we fix it. And he'd say, that's good. And what if we can't fix it? And I would say, well, I guess we should buy her a new one. And my father said, okay, those are 2 important customer service things that you should remember. One is that we are responsible for what we do in a customer's house. Mm-hmm. And we've got to make sure that the customer's happy. So, and then he said, and if after we get all done with that, we can invite her for dinner on Sunday afternoons. So I learned, that's how it works. In fact, you lived with the customer in those days. Not to my mother. She wasn't that happy about it, but because she had to do all the cooking. But she liked having all these people around, and they were nice people, and they were good to us as kids. We always got these magnificent presents as little kids, because the customers were nice customers, and they all lived in New York City, and we lived in the country, and they just were good to us because I loved my father. So that's how I wound up. That's really how I really wound up in wanting to go into business. But my father said, no, women can't go into the construction business now. They can't be women. And then sure enough, 30 years later, he hires a woman to run his business. But my sister had met somebody in the furniture business. And she called me. I was teaching in college, communication and psychology. And she said, hey, I have a good connection. We could go into the furniture and probably the flooring business. So Long story short, we did it. She just said, "You need some money, and then we can do it." So
It's that easy. Just get some money and you can have a business.
Yeah, I didn't even think about what she was saying. I just cashed in my retirement from working for the state of New York. And the next thing I knew, I was in the furniture business we started with. And so I used to fly down to High Point and Hickory and buy truckloads of furniture because we were liquidators. So I learned that business real quick. And then we figured, hey, if we could buy closeouts in furniture, we could buy high-end closeouts in carpet. So that's how we started. We didn't carry junk. We carried all kinds of very expensive things, carpet with holes in them, holes and streaks. And we were buying for almost nothing. Mm-hmm. And somebody come in and say, well, there's a streak in that carpet. And we'd say, well, put a dresser over it. What's the big deal? Or, oh, we got a hole. Well, you got a dresser? Put a dresser over that. Because the stuff was really high-grade wool. And we built a business on high end, and we would put the ticket on the roll, and it would say this was worth X number of dollars if it were new, if it were brand new and didn't have holes in it. And then we would say, but because it does, you can buy it for X. And then we would have, sometimes we would have the manufacturer's wholesale price list on it.
Yeah.
And we were selling it for wholesale. And that's really the way it was. And so we built a business like that. I still believe that that would be the next business going. But anyway, so here's the thing. I'm working on my new book, which has to do with the customer experience. Customer service is not dead. It's just changed. Okay. And through my research, this is what I found. Number one, there's only two ends of the market. I don't care what you're doing that are going to make it. And they are the high end or the low end. The low end of the markets, the dollar stores, the family dollars, all of these places are just adding stores galore because there are people out there. You don't have to be poor to be in the dollar store, but we're all looking for a bargain. And then I'm going to tell you why we need bargains. On the other end of the spectrum are the people with a lot of money. We find that stores that really hang out with really good stuff are doing very well. Now, these are people that differentiate themselves. I'm not talking about Macy's. Macy's is in the middle. They've got a real problem. If you're in the middle, it's hard to differentiate yourself from the guy down the block. Mm-hmm. Because Macy's and Kohl's and Penny's, who cares about them anymore? I mean, I can tell you where the handbags are in the store. I've been in there so many times. And the shoe department's on the second floor, always. So what's happening is consumers have different ideas about what they need. 30 years ago, nobody bought a cell phone for $1,000. Now you've got to have a cell phone for $1,000. You know, some people, oh, no, I don't need one. Well, maybe you don't, but eventually you're going to need one because everything will be done on your cell phone.
Yeah.
People have different needs and different places to put their money. Even people who don't have a lot of money are spending it on cell phones. There used to be an expression that went like this. Treat the customer the way you want to be treated. Now, that in itself is ridiculous these days because you want to treat the customer the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's different. The other expression, you get what you pay for. That is not true anymore. You can go to Marshall's, you can go to TJ Maxx. The high-end discounters are knocking it out of the park. Because the customer knows they've seen everything for years and they know when they see a Ralph Lauren label, and this happened to me a few years ago. I wanted a blazer so bad. They were like $800 and I said, oh my God, I can't buy that at Macy's. Well, I'm in Marshall's. I can still remember in New Jersey. There's this jacket on the floor. I pick it up. It had a big Ralph Lauren label on the outside. Had the big RL. Mm-hmm. I tried it on and it fit me. It was $30 with the dirt on it. And I said, oh my God, sold. I'll buy it. You see, we are so shopped out we know that you don't get what you pay for. You get what you can find. That is why the Salvation Armies, that is why the Goodwills, if you go into, I was in Goodwill last week, you couldn't get in the door. And Macy's looked like you could roll a bowling ball down the middle of it. So you are either looking for a bargain, and there are all these places to get it, because you got to buy that cell phone. You got to have all these tools that you got to have. I mean, you got to have Roku. You got to have all kinds of things. You got to have a drone. I mean, people are taking their money and using it for different things. Housing is really expensive.
Yeah.
Healthcare is off the charts. I was just reading this whole thing about where people are spending their money. And so you either got a lot of money and you're going to go to the new Nordstrom's in Manhattan. I'm going to go down there in a couple of weeks because I want to interview the marketing person for Nordstrom's in Manhattan. It's the first time they've been there. And they're noted for shoes. There's no question. But they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And the rest of these people, Macy's and Kohl's and all, they're going to have to figure out a new way. It's not that retail is going to go away. It isn't. It's going to change, and it's going to be different, and it's going to be fun. Now, taking that to your floor covering store, you've got to begin to understand that you're going to have to do something different for your customers. Now, 10 years ago, I said you should have a yoga class in the store. People just thought I was nuts, but that's pretty much the way it goes anyway. And they laughed. Now, of course, the Metropolitan Museum of Art has a yoga class that you take a tour, it costs you $80, and you do yoga in front of all these magnificent paintings and take pictures. Now, you're laughing, but I called them. They were booked for 3 months. I couldn't even get in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Now, JCPenney's again is going to give it a shot. If it were me, I'd have Zumba, because you could just bring in people that Zumba and all these things that people are doing. You can have a juice cleanse, for goodness sake, in the morning if you want. Yeah. But you have to look at what people are paying attention to these days. And they're paying attention to, if you're a certain age, you got to pay attention to your health. And even if you're not a certain age, we know that, people are out there biking. Peloton. Have you seen the ads for Peloton? Oh my God. I don't know how much that bike costs. I should call and ask them, but I know it's really expensive. But that Peloton commercial is on all day long. And actually they were sued because they didn't have enough commercials for women. It's really funny. They were showing men on the bikes, but they weren't showing women. And so somebody really went for them. But now they're showing women on the Peloton. Yeah. But the thing is that people are investing in different things than they did 30 years ago. And it's not a problem to go to a discounter. It's okay to go to Marshall's and TJ Maxx and Nordstrom Rack. And it's okay to go to Goodwill. And it's okay to do these kinds of things, because you got to pay so much for your health care. Oh, my heavens. I mean, people just have a different view of the world. And if you're younger and you're just coming up, you got to have a phone. You're going to have a big phone, and you're going to have an iPad, and maybe you don't even have a computer anymore. And so people are investing in different things. So again, as a store owner, you have to know where you're going to be. You're going to have to watch that middle, because if you're in the middle, that means you're going to have to compete with everybody who is like you, who sells something for $5 a foot, because you believe that you've got to be in that category to work. But the point is, you've got to figure out who your customer is and who you want. And I would base a lot of what I'm doing on my installer. Without great installers, and I wouldn't call them installers, I would call them custom installers. I would send them out in a white jacket. You can put a black bow tie on them, and you're all going, oh, we don't have time for a black bow tie. Throw it in the car, put the black bow tie on, put the white, whatever kind of jacket. You can go buy them. Chefs have all those jackets. You can buy them, and just put one of them on. So they show up and the customer says, oh my goodness, I can't believe who's at the door. Now, what you're trying to do is to differentiate yourself on all levels here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to compete on the bottom, it's going to be tough because, you can't make money if you're losing it. There was this funny story about these two guys. They wanted to go into watermelon business. They loved watermelons. And, in the summertime, they sell really well. So they said, let's go to Mexico. We're in Texas. We can go to Mexico. They have lots of watermelons. We could probably buy them cheap. And let's go set up a stand. We have a couple of months. We can make some good business. So they load up the truck, go home, and they buy the watermelon for $1 a piece.
Okay.
So they put a big stand up there, and they sell them for $10 a dozen. So now, at the end of the day, they have no watermelons because they were right about that the watermelon was going to sell. But they have no money. In fact, they have less money. So the one brother looks at his other and says, you know what? This is a great business, but there's something wrong. And they kind of look at each other and one says, I know what it is. We need a bigger truck. When you're losing money, you can't make it up in volume.
Yep.
But we have a tendency sometimes to think, if I just make more money, it's really, you have to look at your margins. So with that, again, out of the way, that's a whole other day we talk. But installing is the key to the business in flooring. And if you don't think so, then you just haven't been around long enough. But if it were me, I would be taking pictures of my installers on the job. I would be doing videos on the job. I would be having customers and my installers arm in arm on the job, smiling after the job is over, talking about how beautiful it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would make sure they were custom installers. They called themselves custom installers. And I would make sure that they were dressed right just for fun. White gloves. It was, I think it was probably 60 or 70 years ago. That was all about the white gloves. Women wore white gloves. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, what's her name? Ginsburg? I think she wears white gloves. I saw her one day and she had on gloves. I said, oh my gosh, that's her era. But I'd be wearing those white gloves. That was the white glove look. You'd run that white glove along the baseboard just to see if there was dust on it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to be different. It doesn't hurt to be a little kooky. And it doesn't hurt to want to be better than everybody else. That's the only way in life they're going to know who you are. So as an installer, I would for sure get as many certifications as I could get and put them online. I'd have myself a page online and just to have my certifications. And every time I would go away to a school, I would put that up there. I think I told you that when I was in business, I used to have a monthly class that my installers had to take. It was a 3-hour class. Sometimes I did run all-day classes, and I had them taught by someone who was a floor covering expert and he taught floor covering in the local prison. And so I would pay them to go to class. And at the end of their 6 months, I would give them a certificate. It was our certificate. That was in the days there wasn't any certificate. So we made our own up. We were teaching them. And then I was lucky enough to go work at Carpet One. And I think it was in the 80s. And I worked on that installation excellence program, their 5-part program. And I worked on that. And I realized that this, again, was the same thing that, that we were trying to do. I mean, this was really, really important. Anyway, so it's all about differentiation. So you got to talk differently. You've got to do things different, and you've got to offer different things. As an installer, I think you have to partner. The installation and stores, that's a partnership. But I think you don't look at it that way. Like he or she either works for us or they're an outside contractor. It's a partnership because without the installer, nothing happens. You can have the most beautiful floor covering in the store, but you don't, until you install it, it's nothing. And we need to realize that. And I'm sure that, the good stores, the ones that, there are stores that get it. So I would figure out a way. It's a partnership. And I would talk about the partnership that I have with these people who are the ones that make my floor covering look outstanding.
Well, and there's the key, is that you can sell the most beautiful, expensive carpet that costs $100 a yard in the world. But if it's not installed properly and well, does it really look like $100 a yard carpet?
Oh my gosh, I've gone out when I was doing inspections. I went out on this one job. It was for a restaurant, and the price was really up there. It was these flowers, beautiful cabbage roses. Whoever installed it never seen a cabbage rose, because they had the leaves, they had the stems connected to the top of the rose. It was an absolute mess.
Oh man.
And the customer said, I'm not paying for this. I got to open July 4th weekend. And I said, put a table over it. Put a table over the cabbage rose, and it'll get fixed. But we can't do this. This cannot be fixed this week. But I'll never forget it, because I went to the store owner. I said, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Why did you let this happen? It was like hundreds and hundreds of feet. Weren't you out there looking? Well, I was busy, so whatever. But again, the thing to do is to begin to figure out how you can differentiate yourself from the guy down the street. And again, I had a woman installer. I'll never forget this. She worked part-time, and the rest of the time she was the local sheriff. And she carried a gun in those days, which always made her really special on a big construction site.
Okay.
She was the only one packing. And she had this, her son and her husband did the installation. She did the layouts and they did the installation. And she had this thing that she used to do, which was so funny. She would be there cleaning the windows. Now, I'll never forget this, because I got a call from a big construction company. And the guy said to me, we really do like doing business with you, because we don't even know who you are, really. There's never a problem. But this woman that you have that cleans the windows, is that in the bid? And I say, who cleans the windows? And you say, well, we have this woman, the one that carries the gun, that cleans the windows.
Oh, man.
I'll never forget it. And she said to me, I'll never forget, I called her on the phone. I said, what are you doing cleaning windows? She said, you know what? First of all, I've got nothing to do, because they're doing all the installation. And, they're dirty. The windows are dirty, and there's dust, there's dust around them. And so I have my Windex. And she said, nobody ever forgets us, because we clean the windows.
Yep.
How many times have you gotten a call from, they want the woman that carries the gun and cleans the windows? And I said, well, we get them because people like you. And she was tall, a big girl. She was over 6 foot. So she could reach all the windows. That was just really, really cute. So I don't want to cut you off.
You're right. There's so much in finding a niche, differentiating yourself from everyone else, and really having that thing to hammer home. I work with a removal only company in my area, and they roll up on the job site like it's just there's a production going on. The trucks are all wrapped. The equipment is all wrapped. They have matching T-shirts. Everything looks similar. Nice. They come in. They protect everything that they need to protect. They're rolling in the tools. They're taking everything out. There's like 6 guys working at once to get all this tile removed in a day. And at the end of the day, everything's spotlessly clean. And it was funny because you mentioned like that white glove service and stuff like that. I was going back and forth with my buddy who owns the company about different videos. And I was like, man, if you're going to keep showing these shots of the countertops at the end of your videos and you're just showing that there's no dust, I was like, it's cheesy, but you need to get the white glove out and run your finger across it and show the glove at the end, because that's what everyone knows. They're going to see that white glove and see it's clean, and now you're clean because of it. And it's super cheesy. And he didn't add the white glove, but he'll take videos now, and at the end of it, he'll run his hand across and show his hand that it's completely spotless of any dust after doing tile removal all day in the house. And so by being able to come up with this thing that makes them stand out, they're super busy. Like, he just continues to grow and grow and grow. I get asked all the time, do I do carpet and tile? No, I specialize in laminate, luxury vinyl plank, and engineered hardwood. All three of those kind of work the same. So that's what I've honed in on. I only do residential remodel. I don't do any new builds, really. I work with one builder. He doesn't do a whole lot of work. I'm not trying to get into the tract homes. I'm not trying to do commercial. You've got to find that thing that makes you and hone in on it. And then, like you said, if you can do custom work, okay, well, now, okay, yeah, your living room is rectangular, and the next living room I do is rectangular, but they're not the same rectangle, so it technically is custom. So it just sounds better.
Right. I like to work for retailers who want to kind of think differently. I mean, if you shouldn't hire me to ask me why you can't get the cold base out on time and why you can't figure out why where your tools are. Now, that's kind of not my thing, but here's the deal. This is one thing I used to do, and I just thought it was absolutely, first of all, it was hilarious, and it worked. So customers, when they would say to me oftentimes, do I pay? Who do I pay? I used to try to get paid up front. There was no question. Mm-hmm. Or we at least got the major of the money down, and then they paid the balance when it was done. There was none of this. I read these things online, people saying, how do I get paid on the job? And I go, please don't call me to ask me that question because I can't take it anymore. But here's what we used to do. I used to say to the consumer, by the way, I know you want to know how to make sure this installation is done timely and it looks really good. And they, of course, would say yes. So I said, take a look at the sheet here. You have things you need to do. Make sure you do them. And here's another thing I want to tell you. You probably want to know if you should tip the installer. Now, they hadn't thought about that.
Okay.
I knew that. And they would kind of look at me, and nobody would say, no, I hadn't thought about it. And I'd say, so here's what my suggestion is. When they get there, you might want to have coffee for them. And if you want to make breakfast, that's fine too, because they're going to be there all day. And if you want to make sure they're comfortable, that would be wonderful. And please show them where the bathroom is. Because if you don't let them use your bathroom, they're going to have to get in their truck and they'll have to go drive someplace.
Yeah.
So let's take care of the bathroom. And let's make sure you get them their coffee because it's early. They're going to be there at 7 a.m. And like I said, if you want to make breakfast, that's up to you. And they would laugh. And then I'd say, listen, at the end of the job, give them whatever you feel is worth it for them and for you. Mm-hmm. They never didn't tip. They would come, there would be breakfast, and the installers, they would hoot and holler about this also because I didn't tell them sometimes about it. And they'd come in the coffee, say, oh, coffee's ready. And they go, what coffee? And they said, we made coffee for you. And we cooked and we made some brownies for you. And these kinds of things. But you have to tell the customer because the customer doesn't know who's coming to the house. So they got to make sure they have a badge or something. They know who's there. And they watch too much Law and Order. So they're always wondering if somebody's going to be in the trunk of a car. So you got to kind of get these things straightened out. They have to introduce themselves. This is who we are, introduced their apprentice. It shouldn't be a helper. It's their apprentice. There's a lot more juice in an apprentice than there is a helper. Mm-hmm. Everybody should look good. They all should have nice haircuts. Make sure they are. Tattoos are fine. Everybody's into tattoos these days. And the other thing I can remember, I had this one guy, a ton of tattoos. I can remember telling the customer, by the way, he has the most beautiful tattoos. I know you're going to love them. I don't know what she was thinking, but he rolled up his sleeves, and I thought I better get this out of the way too. So this was like in 1970s and 80s. So anyway, it always works. And people, now let me tell you, the one time I'll never forget, I got a call from the homeowner that said the installer was in the hospital. He had a heart attack, and she gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and saved his life. Now,
Amazing.
just the thought of somebody you didn't know, she said, you told me how special these guys were. And she said, I knew there was nobody else that could do this job.
Oh.
So I had to give him mouth to mouth to make sure he could get through it. So, but he was in the hospital. But I thought to myself, this happens because there is an appreciation for the person coming into the house. And it's an unsaid appreciation for the talents and how good people are. When you make that obvious to the customer, they can't act out. They can't act like jerks. Like, I can't believe there's garbage here, and I can't believe there's this, that, and the other thing. They just need to know that the person coming is special. They wouldn't treat the builder like crap. If they were building a custom home, they'd take whatever kind of nonsense that builder's going to give them out because they're spending a lot of money.
I think you were years ahead of your time. You were setting the expectations, honestly.
Yes.
And that's huge, because that's a lot of the talk you hear now is you have to go in and set the expectations up front. You have to go in and set the expectations up front. You were doing that before anyone ever taught you. And maybe that came from your dad because you just saw him do that. But it's amazing. You're going in, you're telling them, here's what my guys need. They're going to be successful. This is what they're like. Even the guy with the tattoos, when tattoos weren't necessarily popular.
No, they weren't.
You were broaching that topic before it ever needed to come up and saying, he's got amazing tattoos. You're just going to love the artwork. And you put it in a much gentler tone and light than how people normally would have taken it.
And it's funny you said that, because there was another issue. In those days, it was a lot of carpet. And I would say, and by the way, you're going to notice that he wears these shoes, and the front is probably all kicked in and it's kind of coming apart. But that's because of what he's doing with his shoes. And you'll see maybe the knees are out in his pants. It's not that he can't afford clothes. This was when we kicked in carpet.
Yeah.
The knees, right?
Yep.
So by the time we got all that straightened out, there was never a call from a customer. I'm telling you, they weren't going to complain too much about it because they knew whose side I was on. And they paid their bills for the most part, and they took care of the installers, because I realized, again, now it's a partnership between the consumer and your store and the installer. It's a partnership, and you have to treat it with that much respect if you're going to get the kind of work that you need from your installer, and you're going to get the customer to behave. Because I know what customers are like. They can be really miserable, for heaven's sakes. And these days, they're probably even more worse. Is that a good time? Yeah, more worse. I think that's it. Because they know everything. They know how to sue everybody. And so... Well,
they can go on Google and get all the answers.
Right. And they think that, that the world revolves around them. And the other thing, at the end of the job, I used to say to the customer, would you mind taking a picture with the installer? And I would pay my installers $5 if they got a video testimonial. This is 100 years ago. If they could get a video, but most of them there were no cameras and phones in those days.
Yeah.
Some of them had a video camera in their truck, but they could take pictures. And so if we could get them to take pictures, fine. They didn't have phones like that. But now it's so easy. All you have to do is say to the installer, $5, get me a video testimonial.
Yeah.
If you have 10 installers and you could get 10 of those a month, your website will be incredible. There'll be all kinds of wonderful things on there. And the thing is, you don't want the customer to be frightened that the person coming into her home is somebody she does not know. Right? So, but you've got these things with the bathroom. I'm so tired of hearing things. Oh my God, they're peeing behind the bushes. I mean, that's what I hear. And I'm going, look, it's very simple. All you do is say to the customer, they need to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Would you please make sure that they know where they can go? Because if not, they're going to go, and you know what the parking's like, and you know what the traffic is like. It's going to take too much time.
Oh, totally. It's such a, I hate those jobs when it's like a a remodel for a flipper or something like that. There's no water, toilets are pulled, bathrooms are destroyed, you're putting something in, and okay, well, I can either go in the backyard like an animal, and I'm sorry, but I try and, okay, I'm a blue collar worker, but I try and be a little sophisticated, so I'm not an animal, like, but I also don't want to go half an hour out of my way to go to the bathroom, because by the time I actually get off the knee pads, pack up stuff to make it look good, get the house locked up, go to the store, go to the bathroom, drive back, try and get back in the groove of things. Instead of it being a 20-minute trip, I've now wasted an hour.
Right.
Just to go to the bathroom, which should have taken 2 minutes.
Right. And it says that the heat is supposed to be on. I was at an inspection where the carpet was all wrinkled. And she said, I don't know why it wasn't wrinkled when I bought it, which made me laugh. Well, it was wrinkled because she didn't turn the heat on. I said, and she said, he didn't install it. He just laid it out because I didn't want to put the heat on. I said, well, you can't install this stuff. Temperature's got to be X, and you didn't do it. So he laid the carpet out and said to you, go do Christmas, because she had to put the Christmas tree up. Go do Christmas and we'll come back. Because she I don't know, was some room that wasn't heated or some stupid thing, and she didn't have the heat on. Oh, my gosh. But consumers you need a checklist. You must have a written checklist that you go over with the customer. It's done in the store. When you go to the house to do the measure, you go through. I'll never forget, I wanted my kitchen floor done, and it's like tiny. So I called 2 stores to do it. One guy comes out, and he puts the measurements on a napkin, and he draws it out on a napkin, and he says, when I get back to the store, I'll run it through my Xerox machine, and I'll give you a copy. I was like, I remember we used napkins 100 years ago. So then the next guy comes out. He's got an iPad. He's got some program in there. He goes and puts his measurement and he prints it out for me. Mm-hmm. Now, who do I want to go with? I mean, meanwhile, the first guy on the napkin was somebody that I knew. And I was going with him anyway because I was sure he knew what he was doing. But you can't do that with a customer.
No, appearance matters.
Right. You've got to look like. The real point is sometimes you've got to look a certain way to get what you need. And if it's to overdo it, then overdo it. Get your installers those white chef jackets. They're big. You can get them big. They just button. Get them that. Get them some white gloves. They can go along the baseboard and they can do that. Make sure they have booties for their shoes. I mean, it doesn't take more than a couple of minutes. And then all it does is give the customer gets that she's supposed to behave herself too. And I say she or he. Mm-hmm. And that's the way you do it. And I also mentioned selling a warranty. We sold a warranty.
Okay.
We sold an installation warranty. I don't know anybody who does that, and I know they're all going to say she's crazy. Why would you sell an installation warranty? Because nobody else does. So why not? And they sell warranties for everything. They have those car warranties online. I keep seeing them. Cars 20 years or younger, buy a car warranty. You could buy, my goodness, you could buy some little thing. I remember, I'm trying to think. The guy wanted me to sell a warranty. The warranty he wanted to sell me was $5. And I said, no, I'm going to lose it before that. I don't need a $5 warranty on this thing. But, they sell warranties on everything. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, I don't need to buy warranty because I can fix it. Women, with all due respect, I'm not fixing. I want you to fix it. If my car breaks down and if I need air in my tires, I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. I go to the gas station across the street whenever I'm going on a long trip, and he'll say, oh, Liz is around. We got to make sure her car is going to make it. My car is 20 years old. Let's make sure her car is going to make it for the trip. Check everything for her. And the point is, I could probably do it, but they do it. And I go there. People say, how come you get your gas across the street? He's 5 cents cheaper than you could go 10 blocks somewhere. And I go, because he puts air in my tires. And he doesn't complain when I ask him to, please, can you check this? Can you check that? And that's why I give him my business. He goes out of his way. Mm-hmm. One time, I can still remember, I was going out on a job. I was going out to for this one firm to do some sales training, and it was so cold out, and my car got a flat tire going down the hill. There was snow. It was like 10 below zero. And I called up Mike and I said, Mike, I don't know what to do. Oh my God, I got to do this. He said, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to come down in my car. You're going to take my car. You're going to drop me off and we'll get the tow truck and we'll get your car later. I thought, what? He said, Liz, don't worry about it. I know you'll have no problem with my SUV. You can get through any kind of snow you want. Now, will everybody do that? No. But the fact that he did it, right?
Yep.
Was like, I'm never going anyplace. I don't care if he charges me 20 cents more a gallon for gas. I have to go there for my gas, right?
He provided a customer experience that makes it worth going back. You may be more expensive, but it goes back to you're talking about customer service is kind of dead and it's changed. And that's exactly it, is now he's providing you with something that makes you, one, you have a relationship with him, but two, he's going above and beyond and providing you things without that other companies won't, And it's also, you're talking about putting warranties on things that don't have warranties and selling them. Well, one, believe in your work because you're the one doing it or your installers are doing it and you need to believe in their work. And so it should be an easy upsell.
Well, yeah, let me just give you an idea. I mean, so you're going to have to go back no matter what. And you've got to have some kind of a warranty. So if you had a little additional warranty and that warranty said, we'll be back in 6 months to look at your floor. And as long as you haven't done X, Y, and Z, moved the carpet to another room or installed it on the ceiling or whatever, we are going to fix it. And then you just put the things on there that you're not going to do. And then it's like a peace of mind I would just call it a peace of mind warranty. Now, nobody else has it. And it's not a big deal because, listen, you're going to have to go out there no matter what. If the customer screams and yells loud enough, you're going to have to show up. Now, whether you fix it or not, I hear people say, well, sometimes I'll fix it. You can't be sometimes you'll fix it. That's discrimination. No, you're either going to fix it or you're not going to fix it. And you have it written out so the customer really understands what in the world you're doing. Mm-hmm. When you do that, you create trust. You create a certain amount of trust. And also the fact that you know what you're doing. So you have to kind of do these things. And when you do them, again, it differentiates you from everybody else. And we talked about environmental. Let's talk about environmental products.
Okay.
But here's another thing that I would do. So we have a lot of carpets that are PET, right? That are made from plastic bottles. Now, if you really want to be cute, if I was sending out 100 yards of a PET product, inside I would have a note in an envelope, in a pretty envelope, and you open it up and it would say, this carpet was made of X number of bottles that we did not throw in the landfill. Thank you very much. Now, if I was a customer and I got that, my little kid, first of all, would be like delighted to see that. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of stuff that it's like thanking the customer. Thank you for buying this product. This product was made so many yards of carpet. We use so many bottles, and you have just saved 200, 300 bottles to the landfill. Thank you very much for being a good environmentalist.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't that a cool thing to do for a customer?
Totally.
And if you look at the rest of the things you do, there's probably another way that you can do that also, that with other products. You could have it with your wood, but to give the customer something and to thank them for being, we're all talking about the environment. We're talking about global warming. Give these things to the customer. So again, the customer's your partner. So let's show them what they can do to be good partners. I'll never forget, I was doing an inspection and the customer said to me, her son had to do a science project. And I said, really? So we were talking about carpeting and I said, oh my God, I got all the things. I had fiber, I had bottles, I had chips, and I even had a movie. And so she said, "Would you go with him?" So I did. Oh my God, he got his A plus. But he had his chips and he gave out, plant, because we have up here we have a recycling plant that chops up bottles and sends them down to all the major manufacturers of flooring. And so we did that. Oh my God, she was raving about me forever. I don't remember. Yeah, the problem with her carpet was her fault, as I recall. She just didn't clean it. So these are the kind of things that you can do with your customers, and to make sure that they are your partners in this. And, we've just come through a holiday season, so it might be kind of late, but we've got Valentine's Day coming. We've got things coming, and things that we should be paying attention to. If I had a big parking lot, we had a couple of our stores had gigantic parking lots. We had 7 stores.
Okay.
But in those parking lots, you can fill them with Christmas trees and all kinds of things that would make your store interesting. Decorating everything. And as I said, you've got Valentine's Day coming. You can have hearts all over the place, and it can be an un-Valentine's Day. If you don't have a Valentine, that's good too. But I think people have to begin to use their stores. It's the experience again. You're going to start seeing. I know that the Mall of America has put in a campground so that you can camp and stay overnight, and because they need to keep people there, so you can do that. And I know that IKEA in Australia has set up bedrooms, so you can visit the store, and if you want to stay overnight, they've got 4 or 5 little apartments within their store.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, you go in, you stay overnight, and the kid says, "I want all this, Mom."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So all they're doing is building an experience so that, people can just have fun and just enjoy. Again, we're spending a lot of money on our health insurance. We're spending a lot of money on things we never thought we would need, iPads and iPhones and all of these things and it's going to get even more expensive. We go into 5G, and now we need new phones, and we need all kinds of things that we didn't need before. So, we have to figure out where are we. And I was just looking, I read this report, and healthcare is number 1 on everybody's list of where they're spending all their money. So you got to figure out, when I get all done with this, what do I have left? So I have to figure out where I'm going to go. And so if I got a lot of money, then I'm high end. I don't have to worry. If I don't have a lot of money, then I got to go to some place where stuff isn't real. I got to go to off-price stores, those kinds of stores. If you were in the flooring business, I would go into the off-price business, because you can still buy merchandise with holes in it. You can still buy streaks. And all you got to do is say to the customer, "Yep, it's 100% wool. You'd be paying, $30 a square foot for this, but you're going to pay X." All you got to do is figure out how to cover up that hole. Buy 10 yards extra and cut it out.
Yeah.
So I think there's a place for these kinds of businesses, because that is what is flourishing in the rest of the country.
Sorry, my son's yelling in the background.
I hear that.
This is what happens when you don't have a professional recording studio. You guys get to experience my life as well. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you're talking about building a customer experience. You're talking about getting into niches and finding a way to serve a market that's growing. When I remember growing up and my mom would freak out that the phone bill was $50 because I had to make a long distance phone call to my dad halfway across the country, and we talked for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and that was longer than my allotted 20. And so now the phone bill was a ton more. Look, my phone bill for myself is $100 a month, and then I pay my wife's, which is $100 a month. I got my dad a flip phone because I was sick of him not having technology. That cost me $20 a month. Wait, what happened to the $50 a month phone bill? If we're spending money on so many other things, like you said, that it's crazy. But to think that people are going to skimp when it comes to a product that truly matters in their home, I think you just got to sell better.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah, but these are the things that you have to understand, that what people pay for certain things. I mean, you can look at a person who comes in the store. She might be really decked out, but she could have gotten most of it at the Goodwill store, for heaven's sake. Or maybe maybe she's buying all that stuff and she's going to resell it online. I mean, it's just a question of what people's priorities are these days, and what can they actually do. I do some work for car dealers, and I work for a marketing company, and I am amazed at the kind of car payments I have never seen in my life. Now, we're not talking about the real high end. I mean, we're not talking about Audis and that end, but we're talking about middle cars that sell for $35,000 and $40,000. There are people that have not only $600 car payments a month, but that not only do they have that, but they owe more than they bought the car for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But I have just noticed how many of them are there. And then there are people who come in with this. We do special offers, and they have a car that's 10 years old. And they say, I'm just not doing it because I don't want to have a car payment. I just don't want to have a payment. But the payments that people have, I mean, when I was growing up, a 3-year car payment was like a really big deal.
Yeah.
And, but now I'm looking at these things and I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy owes $12,000 on his car. This other guy owes $20,000 on his truck, for goodness sakes. I mean, what are people having to buy these days that are different than they did before, that they're investing their money? Look at how many trucks are out there. Trucks are really, really expensive. I'm looking at these big Ram trucks. I'm looking at guys coming in, women coming in, buying trucks, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. That's where they're investing their money. Yeah. I don't know why, but trucks are in. I mean, you can only spend your money so many ways. So as a store owner, you kind of have to figure out, who are you after? You can't make it with the watermelon guys. You can't make it on that level. You've got to find something that is better end and choose your customer base. There was a store in New Jersey called Nobody Beats the Whiz. It was like in the 70s. Okay. And it was an electronics store. It had the right name to go out of business. They won the game. They went out of business. Nobody beat them. They were right. They gave everything away. Yeah. But it was the kind of name that you thought, my heavens, no wonder. It was so funny and cute, but no, it really wasn't, because they had to play the game to win the game, which was to go out of business, so nobody would beat them.
It was they raced to the bottom, and then nobody won.
They raced to the bottom and they won. So where do you want to be as a business owner? As you look at what's out there, the bigger get bigger, and they have technology. You have got to be looking at technology. You have got to look at, what will it take for me to make sure that my website is right, and that, I have a great story. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a realtor, and she was just moved to Missouri. Now, I know a lot of realtors because I do a lot of training for them. So she calls me on the phone and she says, now I got your name. I'm from Westchester County in New York. I got your name from this woman who's a realtor. And she said that if I needed to find somebody to help me with my floors, you would be the person to call. Can you help me find somebody good? I already had a bad experience with one of them big stores. So this is 9:00 at night. I get online and I go to St. Louis, Missouri, and I look up 5 people, and I go to their website. Only one of these people have the right website. They have a little thing that says, I go on the website, and the little guy pops up and says, do you want to talk to somebody? Can we help you? Mm-hmm. And so I write a note that says, I'd like to talk to the owner. I have a special customer. I put my name, this is who I am. I have a special customer, and I need to talk to the owner by tomorrow. 10 minutes later, I get a call from the owner. Yeah. Says to me, hi, Liz. He happened to know who I was. I said, well, I have a customer out there. And so I'm going to tell you a couple things. She's high end. She's probably difficult is my hunch, but she needs a whole house full of wood. She's carpet for the bedroom, a whole house. And her son is a famous photographer all over the world. And if you could get this right for her. Well, I got a note from her the other day. She says, oh, Mike is like the best person in the world. I wrote on his website. Now, the other websites I went to, I knew it had the thing, please leave us a note. We'll call you in the morning. I know nobody's calling me in the morning because when they come in the morning, they're going to have a problem because they can't find the code base or the glue. And by the time the phone rings 4 times, and by the time they get to me, it will be the afternoon and nobody will care anyway.
Yeah.
Except for this one that had his stuff together. He had it together and he was right there. It said, would you like to speak to somebody? Because we'll call you. And I didn't think they were going to call me then. I mean, I was like, what? But his website was set up so that it was for sure that the customer was going to be serviced and they were right on it. You know,
that's the key.
Yeah, the key is you've got to have your website set up right. And then you've got to do what it takes to make sure it happens. I got a call from somebody who said, oh, would you help me with my call center? I said, I don't know. What's wrong with your call center? He said, well, people leave messages and nobody picks them up and we lose customers. And I said, well, I can. He says, we got all these leads and we don't do anything with them. I said, well, what you have to do is set it up so I can listen in for the next 3 days. He said, listen into what? I said, well, I got to listen into what they're talking about on the phone. He said, well, I'm afraid if you do that, you'll find out they're not doing their job.
What are you contacting me for then?
I said, you're paying me to find out they're not doing their job. But if you already know they're not doing their job, you don't need me. Yeah. You just need to get somebody. And maybe I'm going to give you one suggestion. Maybe what you want to do is if you've got so many leads coming in, maybe what you want to do is hire somebody to take care of those leads. They don't even have to be in the store. I mean, I know that the car dealerships, they have a person that only thing they handle are the online leads. That somebody goes online, they see the car, they send a note in. It's usually a she, from what I've seen, but she picks them up. She calls the customer, and her job is to get them in the store. And She gets paid to do that. She gets a spiff for bringing them in the store. And if they buy a car, she even gets a spiff on that. Why not set that up in your store? If you've got so many leads, you need somebody to handle them. And you could try that out for 6 months. And if it doesn't work, then it just doesn't work. You'll do something else. But the point is that if you're not going to take care of those leads that are coming in, you're wasting your time. I mean, if you're getting the leads, and, you're waiting for somebody to take care of it when they're going to be busy in the morning and there's going to be a problem because there always is a problem. If something can go wrong, it will. And so you need to find a way to take care of these things. But I find that stores, they're not paying enough attention to what they've invested in. In other words, they've invested in these websites. They just don't bother to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. You can do so much. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, and you've got your installers. And so, if your installer can bring you a job, there you go. You've just got to figure out how you're going to use all your partners, how you're going to use your salespeople partners, how you're going to use your install partners. But I think that it's not that what we do is a great industry. The thing is, you've got to start being a little bit more clever. And you've really got to pay attention to who works for you and what they do and who you're partnering with. And then you can continue to build that business in a way that nobody else is gonna. But these days you got to pay attention because the customer's as smart as we are. And if they're not as smart as we are, they think they're as smart as we are. That's even worse. So we're going to have to kiss up a little bit, and we've just got to make sure that we do things right.
Yeah, you've got to, like you said, you got to partner with people. You got to know what they're good at, put them in the right place, give them the opportunity to thrive, and then you're going to grow that successful business that you're looking for. You're going to work in the niche, you're going to work on that higher end or in that specialty that you want to be in, and have people that you're able to make successful because you're giving them what they need to be successful and you're trusting them to do what they need to do. You don't have to micromanage them. You can trust them to complete the task that they're assigned because you've given them a proven way to get it done. There's a system in place that ensures this is how we handle all the leads. This is how we handle customers and clients. This is how we handle cash and carries. For every situation, there's a process that's followed and it's repeatable and you can build upon that.
Yeah, and let me just throw in a little pitch here that you need to do training. You need to do training. I'm just setting up a series of video training.
Okay.
But you need to do it some way or the other because, if you're looking, as I read about the millennials, as I read about younger workers, they are used to being educated. They go online, they watch videos, they listen to podcasts, like yours is absolutely the best. And
thank you.
we need to keep them educated. Excuse me. Because if we don't educate them, they're going to go work for somebody else. Because in their world, it's all about education. It's all about getting smarter. And it's all about using the online tools that are available to them. So if you're going to keep good people, you're going to have to figure out. And again, these installers are your partners. They're out working all day. Find ways to help them be better at what they do. Give them information. Bring them back magazines. I don't know how many of you are going to Surfaces and Domatex, but if you're out there, you want to make sure you bring back all of these things, all of these magazines. There are like probably 40 of them, and bring them all back. Take pictures of products that you think are really interesting. Send them back home. Put them on your websites. You got a special builder. You got somebody you do a lot of work for. Ask them what they'd like to see and go find those and do a live stream from Surfaces talking about what's out there. I guarantee you'll get a customer before you get back. I was at one of the local trade shows in Chicago last year, and I was talking about doing these things, and I brought down 5 or 6 of the people who were in my class, and we did some live stream downstairs where the products were.
Okay.
And they called me, they said, you're right. We got a couple of customers that want to see some of those things that we took pictures of.
That's awesome.
Right. And the things that we talked about. Again, it's thinking everybody's your partner. The consumer's your partner. The installer's your partner. Your salespeople are partners. Everybody's an entrepreneur these days. We've all got to figure out how to do the hustle. So give them stuff to hustle with. And you do that, and people feel better about themselves, right? Because you're paying attention, and you're going to get more customers. Remember, everything's going on online. Everything exists out there. If you're not doing the out there, then you're going to be in trouble. Because pretty soon, it won't matter. Because it's so funny. People say, I'm not getting a cell phone. I know a couple people like that. And I went, you're not getting a sales phone? No, I'm not getting one. I said, well, so who cares? You don't need one. What do you need one for? You just don't want to talk to people? That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to talk to people ever? Why should you care? I'm not getting a computer. Yeah, don't bother getting a computer. I mean, there's nothing to see. Just everything in the world's going on online. Well, who cares?
Yeah.
You can do what you want, So, I mean, things have changed throughout the years. And there were certainly people, I remember, excuse me, I don't really remember this. I remember reading this about horses and wagons and cars, and somebody saying that, no, we don't need a car, we need a faster horse. And, that was kind of like it was. Let's get a better horse.
Yeah.
The horse was already doing the best he could.
Correct.
Right? He was already doing the best he could. He couldn't run any faster, and they couldn't make him any healthier, and he couldn't eat any more. So, eventually he just wasn't. But they were saying, nope, we don't need a car. We just need a faster horse. And then there was, what's his name with the square wheels? I'm trying to think who he was in the cartoon. He just went out and decided that he'd make a car with square wheels because he had a lot of squares left around. And, we should quit trying to invent things with square wheels when everything is out there for us. We just need to. And here's how I kind of look at it for myself. When I see something or I read something that kind of gets my back up, and I say to myself, nah, you don't know about that. I don't think I say to myself, this is exactly what you need to look at. Because I know that I am just being a defiant little kid who only wants to do what she wants to do. So business owners we all need to begin to look this way and say, okay, I don't understand it. That's why I don't want to do it. The whole world is starting to do it. I say I want more customers. I say I want a better business. I say I want a niche. Well, if that's what I want, then I'm going to have to go ahead and do it. So, that goes along with me and my realtors. Shall I talk about them a minute?
Oh, what I want to say is that there's so much knowledge and wisdom and everything you've given us. There's so much to take away from everything that you've said, from being able to partner with people to building with people. And I hate to do it, but I really do have to cut you off. We're reaching the limits of the length here. We're a little over an hour. I know it goes so quick, right? Like it feels like it's been 5 minutes.
I know.
So, but there's definitely room for other episodes in the future. So why don't you let everyone know where they can find you, reach out to you if you're going to be doing, I know you're going to be at Surfaces, so drop that. And just anything you want to plug right now, go ahead and do that.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So I'm going to be at Surfaces and I'm doing a workshop on what you can learn about your business from the Game of Thrones. That's one I'm doing. And I am on a panel with a retailer and a few other people, and we're going to talk about marketing. So please come and see me at Surfaces. I will be at Domatex. So I've got a couple of workshops on Domatex, and one is really about how to deliver your customer service, and the other one is, again, really about how to connect with those online customers. So go take a look at both of those. Again, just so you know, my name is Lisbeth, Lisbeth. Last name is Calandrino, just like it sounds. You can find me on my website, or you can find me on all the usual social media haunts. And I do write a column for Floor Covering News, so you can take a look at that. Or again, go to my website and take a look at my blog. So it's LisbethCalandrino.com. So I would love to hear from you. If you want to call, I'm East Coast 518-495-5380. Remember, you can't have all the customers in the world, but you can have the ones you want if you know who they are.
Awesome. Thank you again, Liz. I appreciate you spending time with us and giving us your insights and years of wisdom from being in the industry.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's all the time we have for this week. To keep the conversation going, head on over to the Floored-U-Cation Facebook group. Be sure to subscribe so you can hear each and every episode. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and most major podcast directories. Don't forget to leave a review and let us know what you think about the show. If you'd like to be a guest, have questions or feedback, you can email us at flooreducation@gmail.com. You can help support the show by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/flooreducation. If you need a discount on your tools, check out toolsforflooring.com and use discount code FLOORED for 5% off. Remember, your education never stops.